excited to actually get into this conversation. I feel like she has so much to tell us, and I am pumped. So, Ashleigh, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be in the interview seat today and chat more.
Yeah. So you have your own podcast, so you don't typically get interviews. So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
It's fun.
Um,
Little role switch here.
yeah, for sure. I love that. So just tell us a little bit like about you and like where you are today and like what you do and yeah.
Yes. So I'm an online health and fitness coach. I've actually been working in the fitness industry for about 6 years now, which is crazy. Time flies, but I actually studied exercise science for both my bachelor's and master's. So definitely a nerd when it comes to all things wellness. And over the years, I really started diving into more holistic wellness. So that's what I do in my business now. When I was younger, I used to strictly focus on the workouts and the nutrition, and I just saw the gaps that there were with myself and with clients because I didn't know what clients were doing the other like 24/6 or 24/5 that they weren't with me, you know? And same with myself of when I wasn't prioritizing my mental health, my relationship with food, all these things, right? I had a lot of negative consequences for that. So that's what kind of drove me into the more holistic space. And, as time passes, really getting more interested in diving into functional space and everything. So always evolving and growing, but that's kind of where we're at now in my journey and just with helping others.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And like I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't really understand in the personal training space because I get to see you for an hour a week, but like then during that hour, you're telling me all the things that you did. And I'm like, but you just what? I'm like, don't do that. And then you're like, drawing out a little bit of therapy during that session and like a little bit of like nutrition, a little bit of this. And it's just like, you're like, I don't get the whole like piece of the
Mm-hmm.
puzzle. It's just a piece and instead of like the whole puzzle. So
Exactly.
that's exactly, I felt the same way where I was just like,
Yeah, I
and I also
know.
feel like you're not like showing up for people in the same way because yeah, you're coaching them for that hour, but like that's the
Mm-hmm.
only time you spend with them.
Mm-hmm.
So even building a relationship takes longer.
100%. And it's like in person can be so great, but it really is a puzzle, like you said. So, like, if you're only taking one puzzle piece and you're trying to get some sort of, like, let's say the puzzle altogether is your result, whatever you want that result to be, getting stronger, right? Like, changing your body composition, just becoming overall just healthier, maybe like more specific goals, like blood glucose levels, different things like that changing, like you want your labs at the doctors to be different. Well, that one puzzle piece can't get you there. Like all the puzzle pieces need to fit together. And as online coaches, like that is the coolest freaking part about what we do is helping clients make that puzzle fit because they often feel like, oh my gosh, I'm broken or it's not working for me. I'm creating all these healthy habits, but really they just have all these missing puzzle pieces that, like you said, when we are in that in-person setting, we don't have the time and ability to put that puzzle together. Like I wish that was the case, but that's like the beauty of online coaching truly is you can get to that depth. I learned about my clients like childhood past experiences within the first couple of weeks of working together, and that would take a lot longer with my clients that I used to work with in person, right? So you're so right. Like you can dig deeper much faster, and you can also give them a more comprehensive plan and guide and support that just like isn't available in an hour.
100%. But I also think like that's like so key, like the relationship you build, learning about them, like fitting every single piece of the puzzle. But then like the support aspect is the part of online coaching that people don't understand. Like it's not about giving you workouts and meal plans. Like it's
Yeah.
about everything else.
Because like technically anyone could look up some sort of workout or meal plan, and of course if it's not customized to your body, like yeah, it might not work. But there's lots of technically right free resources out there. Now the struggle can be too without a coach, like, well, what resource do I choose? Like I'm between these 10 different things, but none of them are catered to you. So that's where a coach can come in handy because it's catered to you. But what you were just saying, I totally lost my train of thought. So I'm going to hand it back to you. Um, yeah, I kind of lost that there.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, like, the relationship building, like every piece of the puzzle, like the support that you're
Oh,
getting,
the
like,
support.
yeah,
Yes.
like
Because
I
you're gonna,
was like, what did I say?
I know, she's like, oh my gosh, she's like I'm being tested right now. She's like, no, the support, because like you're gonna have so many questions, and like if it was that simple, wouldn't we all be thriving? Like coaches exist for a reason, and like it's just like when people think it's like easy, just like take these supplements or take this or that. Like if it was that simple, like we would be out of business. Like we all would be just living our best life. But like it isn't that simple, but it doesn't have to be that complicated if you seek help, right? Like with the person who's the right fit for you.
Yeah, and as a coach, sometimes I need to be brought down to that level too, because like I was struggling like personally with like some stuff I had going on,
Yeah.
and I just like was like not working out, like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like telling my coach, I'm like, well, I just don't want to like bother you. I don't want to like, I can't
Yes.
commit to doing these things, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, well, you invested in me as a coach. Like, let me coach
Mm-hmm.
you. Like, let me help you get
Mm-hmm.
through. And I'm like, I
Yeah,
guess. And
I
so I'm like,
know.
right. Like, that's literally what I preach to people. And I have to follow my own practice.
Let's normalize that coaches struggle too, and we're humans and not robots, and like we're not always motivated and always have everything on point. If we did, like how unrelatable would we be? Like you don't want a coach that always has that, because that just like isn't realistic. And so yeah, like I love that you normalize that. I have a coach too, because like as coaches, I think we give so much to our clients that it's nice to be able to have someone who can help challenge us and push us in the ways we push others, and it like leaves more room for us to help other people. And hard seasons still happen, even you, I know, have worked in this industry for quite some time too, so it's like no matter how long, like we can always be learning, evolving, growing, challenging ourselves, and different seasons demand different versions of us. That's what I always talk to my clients about. So yeah, it's funny, we can sometimes fall into those same traps, because that communication in those tough seasons. But that's the best thing you can do, is communicate with
Yeah.
your coach, with someone who can help support you in those times, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So I know you hired a coach, and I do want to get to that because I'm so curious, like, or I want to talk about that transition for you. But
Yeah.
I think it's important to talk about the background. So I know you grew up as a twin, and as a twin, you started feeling really like you started feeling the effects of like what you looked like psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Yes, I'm so glad you bring this up. It's so funny because I never would have thought when I was younger that actually being a twin influenced so much of my life path as I got older. And this would be something actually that I like share a lot when talking about my journey, especially now, because everything in childhood and adolescence really is what shapes the way we act as adults, and the different struggles, joys we experience. It affects everything, and it's really not talked about enough. And it's funny, like looking back, I can see clearly now, but back then I obviously didn't understand that these were like the causes of a lot of my pain per se. So I grew up with a twin sister. Our body types were drastically different. She was very, very petite, and I just wasn't. I had a lot more body fat on me, and my brother was actually pretty petite's the a bad word, but he was also just like, he was lean. He was lean. That's a better
Okay.
word for him. And so for me, like, I felt like, kind of the ugly duckling, to be, blunt about it. I would, come home crying to my mom about just like, why can't I look like my sister? Why can't I be like lean like my siblings? And I just like thought something was so wrong with me. I think growing up, as a lot of you listening, whatever generation you're in, like every generation has their pain points with body image, and society makes it difficult as women. Just being a woman's difficult in society as is, but as millennial women, right, like we really grew up in the skinny era where like everyone wanted to be thin. Strong was not a freaking thing back then. I'm glad it's normalizing now, and now Gen Z has to deal with social media. Like, thank the good Lord we did not have social media yet, like until like social media used to be so different than it is now. Like for anyone listening who's a Gen Zer, like, oh my gosh, Facebook like came to be popular when I was like in high school, and like Instagram had just come out. You'd like post a pic of your sandwich. It was so
Yeah.
casual. And now it's like I just can't even imagine growing up with all the editing and photoshopping. So that's a whole nother story. But as millennials, we were in that skinny era. We were in that kind of like magazine tabloid era of like the celebrities being fat shamed for, you know, being these like really, really thin individuals. So just a different time to grow up. And I actually had an authority figure in my life shame me for my body. So that's really spiraled into how I felt about myself, were some comments that were made to me, you know, just shouldn't be made to anyone, but shouldn't be made to a kid, especially because those things stick with us. And so I really just like wore that, like that was the title, like that who was who I was. Like I was the quote unquote like fat one of the both of us. And to me, that was the identity I lived in for many years. So this, you know, pushed me indirectly to really go into sports. I did have a love for sports also. Like my big brother, he played a lot of sports. And so I feel like I followed in his footsteps of a lot of the sports he played, like soccer, running, stuff like that. And so I did find a love and passion for that. But a lot of it was also me just being obsessed with how I could change my body, right? To be smaller. The classic tale, a tale as old as time, unfortunately. And I did actually take a weightlifting class in high school, which is actually really cool to think back. So I started getting into the weightlifting world, but I was a runner first. And so, you know, big in running. And so when I went to college, I was just so terrified of gaining the freshman 15. This was really where everything heightened for me when it came to my disordered eating that really became a massive thing. Like in high school, I always had insecurities. You know, I felt really uncomfortable in my body from as young as like elementary school, right? So, like, from as young as I could remember, I never felt good in my body. I felt really uncomfortable. Like I mentioned, like something was wrong with me. This obviously carried with me throughout high school. I did notice with sports and weightlifting, I did start to like lean out a little bit for me. And then when I went to college, I was just so scared of kind of, you know, destroying that. You hear all the quote unquote horror stories, like everyone's like, you're going to gain weight, which also you should not be saying that to people when you go to college. But that was my mindset. And so I would literally like run 6 miles and then go to the gym and hit every leg machine possible. I probably was like, what is upper body? I don't even know if I did upper body. I can't remember. Also, a tale as old as time, do upper body, ladies. That was kind of like my thing. Like I just had no purpose in or structure in my workouts. Like legitimately just going hard was the motto. If I didn't feel like I was on death's doorstep, like go, like you didn't work hard enough today. You know what I mean? I would binge eat literally every health food, which sounds so hilarious. Like when you hear binge eating, you think like, oh, like unhealthy foods. Like, no, I would binge because I was never full because I wasn't getting enough fuel. So I was like always hungry. I would like then eat an apple and these like healthy snacks I would buy and I would still be starving. And so then I would eat like whatever healthy snack I bought, I'd eat like the entire bag. And it's just so funny looking back at that because I didn't even realize like I had such a problem. And that actually, I think in hindsight, was a lot of what led me to binge drinking too, because my body was not getting enough fuel. And you know, there were probably like multiple reasons that I went down that kind of path, but I think I was trying to fill this void of like I was super anxious because I wasn't getting enough fuel. I was overtraining. So all these things I can see now that was like negatively hindering or negatively impacting my mental health and my physical health. But I had, you know, abs and my abs showing and I had all these things. And so, you know, to me, like that's all I could see was like the results I was getting, not the problems I was having just because they were normal to me. Like I would go to the grocery store and spend like 2 hours. I'm not even kidding you, like 2 hours looking at labels and like having something I wanted to buy and then something I thought was that I should buy. And I would stare at it for like 20 to 30 minutes and then put back the thing I wanted to buy, which makes me want to cry. I'm going to cry right now. And then I would buy the thing that I thought I should buy, right? So I had really, really negative mindset with food, like literally would not season my chicken, just straight bland ass chicken, like bland ass chicken, vegetable medley, like the back of my hand, roasted, baked in the oven, like All I ate oatmeal for breakfast, no protein at breakfast. Don't even get me started with that now that I know what I know. Yeah, it's just crazy. I would do the most crazy things, and everyone knew me as like that runner girl or that girl who, like the healthy girl. So like I feel like in college I started also getting a lot of praise. People are like, you're so disciplined and like you look so good and all these things. And so that just reiterated that I should be doing this. Like, this is a great thing. And so this kind of carried with me through college. And I did actually study exercise science, which is very ironic because you're like, wow, this girl who's learning. But in class, like for me, because I was living and breathing my major, it made me like more obsessive because I also started working at the gym. So I was working at the gym, I was studying it, and I took everything way too literal. Like our nutrition classes, like I literally took everything by the book of like, okay, like it almost in a sense kind of made my relationship with food worse at the time because I just was so blinded by, I don't know, like this obsession. And, I would never tell, even in the past, a client the things that I did for myself. I would have never pushed on a client. So it was a really weird dynamic in that sense. Like, I just felt invincible, to be honest. I felt invincible and like I was just going and I was doing quote unquote all the right things. And so I ended up going for my master's after college, after I graduated. I ended up getting hired there and moved to Tennessee and started living there. And when I started my master's, I did have a lot of growth. My relationship with food, in a sense, did get a lot better. I started eating a lot more protein. I started, really increasing my knowledge in a lot of areas, having more structured workouts, really understanding what I was fully doing to a deeper degree. Like I felt like I grew a lot professionally, but the obsession was still there. And actually, when I was in grad school was when I hit, like, I guess you could say, the peak of my fitness in a sense, because fitness is different than being healthy. And I do want to differentiate that because just because you think someone's fit doesn't mean they're healthy. And
Right.
so I was fit. Now I'm holistically healthy, which I wasn't then. And I couldn't see. Amongst all this time in college as well, I had like lost my period from under eating so much. Like there were all these different effects. I had like a lot of brain fog. To be honest, I just thought these were things that, like, because I had dealt with them most of my life from my habits, I thought it was just who I was. Like I
Right.
thought at times I was just stupid. My mind would go blank, which sounds crazy now because I'm like, oh my gosh, if anyone does experience these symptoms, I want you to know there's a better life out there. You just don't know it yet because you haven't experienced it yet, but there are better things. And so since I had never experienced those better things, I didn't know. And in grad school, I really thought, I'm thriving. Like I'm living my best life. Like I had definitely put on a lot of muscle mass, but I had probably the least amount of fat mass on my body I had had. And so, of course, that got even more attention, which was also just as someone who seeked that external validation, because from a young age, me being told, by this authority figure, these unkind things about my body, of course, I was seeking external validation. If people are going to tell me my body looks good, right? I'm trying to heal my inner child, not in a healthy way, but to me that was like healing. Like, okay, like you think my body looks good, so like, this is what I've always wanted, type of thing. So it wasn't even about me so much. It was always about what are other people thinking. Like I couldn't go anywhere without thinking like, are my abs like showing enough? Like what do people think of my body? Like does anyone like think I look fat from this angle, right? So like these were the type of thoughts that consumed me, which honestly I very much kept inside. Like anyone who knows me probably would not know that these were the thoughts I were thinking because again, I thought they were normal. I did not like outwardly express these things. So yeah, so eventually if you go hard in the gym, if you overtrain, if you undereat, eventually you are going to hit rock bottom. Like you just are. Like your body can only take so much physical and mental stress. The physical and mental stress that I had put on myself, the debilitating anxiety, like debilitating, like this, my under eating and overtraining caused me so much insane anxiety that I think only some of my closest roommates ever saw that side of me because I put on such a happy face all the time. So everyone always just thought, happy, positive, like she's doing great. But behind the scenes, like I had so many demons that like I was battling within myself. And I remember like one day I like started feeling these pain in my forearms, and I kind of still like trained through it. I was like, maybe it's just, maybe it's just a one-off thing. And then I kind of kept working out on it, which if you have any sort of sharp pains, you should never do that. And I knew that, but again, I felt invincible. Would never have told a client to keep training on it. And those pains progressed one day, and I remember the workout. I was doing a back and biceps workout. I remember literally doing an incline bicep curl, and I felt like my arm was about to like rip. Like it's like I
Ooh.
need to go to the doctor. So I went to the doctors, and I just had a really severe case of tendonitis. Like you hear about tendonitis, people kind of use it casually, but like you can have a really severe cases if you've been overusing for a long time. So between teaching group fitness, doing my own workouts, like everything I was doing, not getting enough fuel, not ever really taking rest, this, like, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner, honestly. And so this was very humbling because I couldn't do anything. Like I had to teach my group fitness classes without touching a weight. I would have to use someone else to demo. I couldn't carry groceries without wanting to cry. I remember for a work function, we had to bring a gallon of sweet tea and a grocery bag. And I remember trying to carry it inside, and the pain was like so unbearable. And I just remember feeling like my world was like ending because I was like, this is my identity. Like, this is who I am. And I don't think I had realized how much of my identity that had become. It's funny because I look at my life now and I'm just such a fulfilled person who has so much to my life. But back then, really looking in hindsight, a lot of my life was consumed by those obsessive thoughts, and then just working out, focusing on food. Like, of course, I had a social life and all those other things, but for a good chunk of that social life, I was binge drinking and doing things that weren't great for my health. So, anyway, all this like really caught up. And I was down and out for maybe like half a year or so before I even really started getting back into weightlifting again. And I had to start from square one. So this was like extremely humbling. I moved back to Virginia during this time and actually reconnected with one of my friends from 8th grade who's now my husband. LOL. So that was a cute plot twist. Cute
Yeah.
little plot twist. But it's funny, his eating habits were so different from mine that I feel like a mix of the injury and being with him, actually, the combination kind of helped me heal my relationship with food, because he just was like so casual about food, and me seeing that, it just like blew my mind. So then I like started allowing things into my diet I hadn't before, and realizing the world did indeed keep spinning. It did not halt like I thought it was going to. But it took a lot of repetition of doing the things I once deemed as bad and like almost sinful, like they were going to cause me to just, quote unquote, let myself go. And so this was like kind of my healing era, I like to title it. So the healing era was hard too, because I did have to watch my body go through a lot of changes. So first, when I got injured, I basically lost all my muscle mass because I wasn't training. And so I literally look back on pictures, and it's so funny because back in the day, I thought I was like getting quote unquote fat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I literally just look like skin and bones, basically. Like I barely had any muscle or fat. And it's just crazy how much I atrophied, which is just loss of muscle mass from that injury, because my body was just screaming like it couldn't do it anymore, and I wasn't giving enough fuel to keep things going. And so after that, then I started like getting a little softer, for compared to how I was before. And I think COVID actually, in an odd sense, helped, because this all happened around COVID time, because we weren't going many places, right? So like I did get away from body checking so much. I got away from looking in the mirror so much. And so this was such a actually therapeutic time for me, where I really learned to love myself and be happy in my body, like not even think about my body, like body neutrality, like getting to that place of just being like grateful, and like I was falling in love. So I was so happy, all these things. And then I got to a point where I was still working in the fitness industry for all this time. So, I was giving so much to my classes and I was still exercising, but I was not doing what I wanted to for me. I was doing everything for clients. I was really putting a lot of my own goals. I really didn't feel like I had goals for myself anymore. So this healing era, it was such a beautiful and necessary time, but I was like, I need to like push myself in a new way, and I need to also like grow. Like, although I now like love my body and I didn't want to go back to where I had been before, I loved my mental transformation. I did want to feel better and confident again, because I do feel like I had gone to that neutral place. And I do feel like I was, at the time, I felt like I was more confident in a, slightly bigger body than before, right? A bigger body. And so that was amazing. But I wanted confidence in the sense of prioritizing myself in better ways. I knew I could do more than what I was doing. Like, the healing era had served its purpose and it was time to start like challenging myself again.
Right.
But I was scared because I was like, I don't want to fall back into becoming this obsessive gym girl again. Like, that was my fear. And so I actually was starting my business shortly close to this time. But before I started my business, I actually hired my online coach, Jamie Renee. Shout out. She's literally phenomenal. She's like a walking encyclopedia of just knowledge and strength gains and all the things. And I absolutely love her. But I signed up. I took the leap to sign up working with her. I was like, I feel like I need someone to guide me, because it had been a couple years post injury, but I had not really pushed myself anywhere close to where I was pre injury out of fear, right? Again, tale as old as time. Yeah. And I wanted to have that support.
Hey, Barbell Therapy fam, I am interrupting this podcast because I want to make sure I let you know that I have roster spots open for my one-on-one coaching. This program is 110% customized specifically to you. I make a brand new workout. I do not copy and paste from any of my other clients. I work with you individually on your individual nutrition needs, from where you started to where we want to go. And I make sure that you have a plan in place that will actually get you results and be easy and sustainable for you to achieve. We're going to look at your individual body and how your body responds to things. Honestly, the amount of support that you're going to get inside of this program is going to be the game changer. From not feeling like yourself and needing personal journal prompts, routine audits, making sure that your day is structured in a way that you don't feel like you're flailing and you just have all these tasks you need to complete and you don't know when and why to complete them. I will go through every single step of the way with you to make sure that you not only have a plan that you can actually complete, but you know when and where to complete that plan, so you don't feel like you're just adrift in the day trying to meet these metrics. We are going to be best friends throughout this, and I'm telling you, it is worth it. Hop on a call with me and let's do a personalized fat loss evaluation for you, where I will give you the starting guide that we would be using inside of my program: calories, training days, cardio days, etc. I will give you that guide to get started, and we can see if you're a fit for the program. And if you're not, at least you have a basic plan that you can implement to actually hit your results. So let's get started by setting up that call, and I can't wait to meet you.
Going through this kind of new season for me, because I had never been injured before. I had been blessed to not really had been injured before. And so coming back from this, I wanted someone to push me in new ways. And kind of get me back to where I was pre-injury. And so that's when I hired Jamie. And, I told her at the beginning, my biggest fear is just like, I don't want to be obsessive when it comes to, my body again. And so she like helped kind of me take my relationship with food and that healing to the next level, which was really cool. It just shows, even as professionals in the field, like me and Kate as professionals in the field, like you can still always be evolving and growing. And we've probably made a lot of the mistakes a lot of you are listening made too. And like, that's why we do what we do, because we want you to do better than we did. We want you to get to your happy place faster than we did, because it took us a long freaking time, and we don't want it to take that long for you. And so we understand the pain of those struggle points. So that's essentially, yeah, what led me to Jamie. That was extremely long-winded. I am such a chatty girly. So
I am too. And like, that is literally like the aura of this podcast. If you think about like a therapy session, you just
Mhm.
spill all your guts and then you like work through it, right? So
Literally.
that's kind of like, everything that I want is like hearing stories like yours, knowing where you started, how it kind of all came out in this like, way that then forced you into change and forced you in,
Literally.
yeah, like getting help and doing what you had to do. And it's not to say that like everybody needs a coach, because it's
Yeah.
not attainable for everybody. um you
Yeah.
know as coaches, we have to charge money, and it
Yeah.
is what it is. But some people really truly cannot add that into their bank account. And so that's totally okay. You don't need one, but I want to bring more stories so that people don't feel so alone and
Yeah.
know that there is better on the other side, and just how do we get there.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
so one thing we can definitely relate on is I also had an authority figure tell me that mean things to my body.
Yeah. Ugh.
It was just so crazy because it was more so that I was already feeling these things, and because I was in
Yes.
cheerleading. So like, cheerleading's a sport where you got to be small. Same thing as
Yeah.
gymnastics, like you got to be small. I was always like this big, like honestly like kind of scary skinny, like that's just who I was. And then when I hit puberty, like things changed a lot. And I faced a lot of change from 7th to 8th grade. And I remember like saying like to this person, like, I feel really fat and I feel so ugly. And like, at the time, one of my best friends legitimately stole my boyfriend, like actually sat there and stole him right in front of me, which was wild. And so like I said, like, oh, I don't feel pretty. And this person literally told me that I could stand to lose a few pounds. And I was like a size 00, and like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, okay. And then she also told me that I could probably put some hair makeup on during the day and like try harder or something along those lines. And I was just like, okay. And that really stuck with
Like,
me. Like, and it really stuck with me. And
yeah.
like you said, like it kind of like became my identity, was
Mhm.
trying to fix what was wrong with me. And like candidly, this person and I had, we was supposed to be a close relationship, and she was supposed to be like a pretty like influential person in my life. And so when she said that, and she didn't like me, and I'm a person that, I like when people like me. So when she didn't like me, I was like, if I fix me being big and me being ugly, maybe she'll like me. And so like it became
Yeah.
my identity, especially around her.
Mhm.
Really damaging. Really, really
For
damaging.
sure.
But I feel like we all go through these things and nobody
We
talks about it.
do. I know. And I think like that's something that I really focus on with my clients, is like getting to the actual root of the issue. So like that's what I've really, my coaching is transforming into more and more, because everything's stemming from something. Like you do not just want to change your body composition, words for a did y'all like that, for a what is the word, oh my gosh, a surface level reason. Like
Right.
there's way more depth to it than you realize. Like there's a lot more meaning to that. For one person it could be, I want to have a healthier pregnancy, and I know if I change my body composition, that's going to help me get there. Or I want to be able to move around, you know what I mean, more easily and not be out of breath going up the stairs. But then there's all these, demons that we're kind of facing from our childhood that can be huge roadblocks with both ends of the spectrum, right? Whether we want to change our body composition and we're obsessive about it, and we need to realize it's okay to freaking we have envisioned in our head, or the other route where maybe it's blocking us from being able to lose weight if we want to. And, maybe adults in our life as a kid made it really hard for us to be able to do that. And it's something you've struggled with your whole life. Everyone has a different story. Everyone has different struggles, but what we all carry is the trauma from our childhood. Now you could have the best freaking childhood, even the best parents in the world, the best support in the world, and you're still going to have traumas. Like it doesn't matter of like any, like you don't realize how these little things can add up. And you can also, like, obviously that's what I mean by everyone's experiences are going to be different. So, but we can all relate that no matter your upbringing, you have those little micro traumas, even if it's just from society and like what society pushes on us, all these different things. And they do add up and they do influence how you do or don't take action in adulthood, right? And what you care about in adulthood. And like you said, you were like, if I am just thinner and prettier, quote unquote, like people will like me. And so now that as a kid, like this thought has formed in your head that that's what you need to do to be liked. And it's just the psychology of it is crazy. And so a lot of times the way to success, both with happiness within yourself and confidence, because confidence is separate from a physical change. You can have both, but they can coexist, but they are not, you don't take the same strategies to get both. Like the strategies you get to change your body composition are very different than the strategies you're going to take to gain confidence. Again, they can coincide. Yeah, you're not just going to become confident if you change that body comp. And so much of that inner work needs to be done in getting to the root of whatever's holding you back mentally, physically from doing these things, because you are capable of whatever changes you want, feeling happy, healthy, confident in your body, accepting your body. But like you have to understand what are your triggers, right? And like why are you being triggered? And then you have to question and challenge those freaking thoughts, which is uncomfortable work. But if you're going to sustain results and actually be completely living your most fulfilled life, you have to do the hard freaking inner work. And so a big problem is people just focus on the habits, which are important, but like they're not, without the mindset and that inner work, you're not going to want to be able to sustain the habits. Two, when you don't have that depth associated with it, it's a pretty meaningless thing to you. And so it's going to be a lot harder to drive change. So I could go on all day, so I'll end it there. But I just get really passionate about the root cause. Like there's always a freaking root. Like we are not just thinking or feeling this way just cause, and it's not that these feelings are just truth. Like they're the truth we've created for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, going back to that root and everything, like, we also have to remember that, like, for you, for example, you had that, like, six pack abs and that really lean figure eventually. It came at a cost, obviously, but you had that. But when you were there, I would venture to bet that it was never enough, that you
No,
weren't.
it wasn't. I wasn't fulfilled. I think at the time, I was almost in love with, like, I was in love with that body of like, wow, like, but not in a positive way. Like, that was my worth. Like, my identity was in that, like, six pack abs. Like, I didn't have my identity in other things. I literally remember, which this is going to make me sad too, want to cry too, but my brother sang to me one time because I think I was just talking about fitness, nutrition, I don't know, talking about school. And I was home one weekend and he said to me, "Hey, Ash," he's like, "whatever you do, just don't make this your whole personality." He's like, "You need to have more depth to you than that." And I remember my mom would always say, well, it's okay to have other things besides, fitness and nutrition. And, at the time I didn't think anything of these comments at the time. I really thought these comments were just like them being like, brother, mom, like whatever, like my mom, like she would always say that. And now, like in hindsight, I'm like, wow, I see why she was always pushing, because she could see, like, also I'm like, oh my gosh, they deserve an award for dealing with me in those years, because I was psych when it came to nutrition and workouts. And it's just crazy to look back. But yeah, it was, going back to your question, it was never enough. It was never enough. It was just all consuming and it wasn't worth it. Like, I literally made a post recently that's like, hey, I'm a health and fitness coach and I never want my defined six pack back. That's a bold statement. Here's why. Because like I couldn't think straight half the time. That my anxiety almost dissipated completely between that and basically going off of caffeine almost completely. So that played a part in it too. And my faith plays a part in it too. Have to shout that out. But my anxiety, a huge source of it was just the lifestyle I was living. And so like the way it can affect your mental health and just like consume your every thought, and you still, all you're thinking about is, yeah, like more, like how can I get even more toned, more defined? um is any decision I make going to destroy it in a second, right? Like there's that fear, those fears that come along with it. So it's funny because, yeah, you could get the quote unquote aesthetic dream body you want, but then you're living like a prisoner in your body. And so I do want to disclaim that, like, someone, if they, you can get defined abs in a healthy way, it doesn't have to be unhealthy. However, people need to understand that having definition, like extremely lean definition, one, you're not supposed to be like that year round. No one's body is supposed to. Your body wants to maintain, your body needs a healthy amount of fat. Second, and my mind just went blank again. Why is this happening today?
About like how you can get it in a healthy way.
Yeah, you can get it. So yeah, like you're not supposed to be lean year round. And I think other point too is just you have to decide the lifestyle you want to live matches up with the aesthetic you want also. Because if they don't coincide, like that's going to be a huge struggle, because the lifestyle you want to live is just as important, if not more important than the aesthetic. But you don't have to choose between, what I always like to say, being confident in your body and being happy and healthy. You can have both, you know what I mean? But if you go to extremes, right, it's not going to last, and it's not going to be healthy. You're not going to be healthy and happy if you go to extremes. You can work your way. So I do want to disclaim that, like, someone who has abs, it does not mean they're unhealthy. It's all about how you're treating your body, and you can do it in a healthier way. But as mentioned, note that you are not supposed to be your leanest year round. If you've seen bikini competitors, that's why they have a short window of time they're at their leanest, then they start bringing their calories back up and putting weight back on, because your body does not want you to starve. Like your body does not want you to starve. It can, just for privacy, I won't share some of the stories of some of these things like led to, but yeah, you can put your health in really scary positions medically too, when you're doing some of these things. I think of, like, I was binge drinking, but then like barely eating enough, back in the day too. And like, that is not a good combination. So there's a lot of consequences. I'm getting kind of off what you were saying, but yeah, it was never enough.
And here, no,
and mic drop.
No, and that's 100% right. And also the other thing that I feel like we don't talk about enough is how much genetics play a huge role. Like, and there's no way to know whether your genetics will allow you a six-pack abs or not. But like some people simply, like, that is just not an attainable goal for them. And like, you have to let go of that at some point, because your worth is not about your abs. Your worth is not in that.
Why are we so obsessed with abs is a great question. I've had them. They're not really anything to write home about. Like, they're pretty to look out, but they don't serve. One of our trainers at the gym, she always used to say, so one of the gyms I worked out, one of our employees, she would always say, we all have abs. And I'm like, that's a really good point. We all do have abs. It's just about what people really want is being lean enough to see the abs. But what people don't talk about is how, in order to be toned in general, right, you want to build muscle, and then you're going to go through, maybe shedding some fat mass after, reveal that muscle. That is what being toned is. That's basically what having abs is, but yeah, you have to weigh the cost, because people always think about the result, but what about the cost to get there? And like, my body was not supposed to be that lean for my body type. Like, I just was not supposed to be that lean for how many years it was. To be honest, there was a shit ton of damage after that in that healing era that came from that, like a shit ton of damage. Like, it took me multiple years to recover from. I'm blessed that it wasn't more than that, more than a couple years, because your body will revolt against you eventually if you're not like giving it what it needs and treating it right. And so, yeah, getting obsessed with a certain look, like, here's the thing is like, nobody's comparable. We're all unique, And so you can be the best freaking healthiest, happiest, most confident version of yourself, and that's going to look different than the person next to you. So like, our issue in society is trying to freaking look like copy paste of each other. Like, back in the day, like, people would literally be like, I want your abs, I want your butt, like all these things, like literally. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like when you could be the best version of you, like that's so much better. Like we shouldn't want to copy paste. And I think growing up with a twin, I have a really unique perspective on that because I just feel like we should not be comparing. Like, because growing up, people always compared me and my sister to each other. So nothing in me ever wanted to compare myself to others growing up because I was like, I grew up with that happening for me. I came out of the freaking womb being compared to someone else.
Yeah.
So I just think I have a unique perspective of like, we're so individual. Like it's not a competition. And just as women, we should be using each other to hype each other up. We can be inspired by each other's journey, but the best version of you is going to be the most beautiful thing ever, you know, not the best version of someone else. And you don't know anything about their life. Like you're just seeing the product. But like back in the day, everyone thought I was living my best life. It's only now I'm sharing all these things, right? So keep that in mind too, that seeing a picture, what is that like saying a photo has is worth 1,000 words or
Yeah.
something? Like
Yeah.
I don't know if you think about that kind of relating to this, like you don't know the whole backstory.
100%. And I think it's like all that is just like so important to remember, but it's really hard to remember like in the moment too. It's just like one of those things. Um, I had another question and it is escaping me.
I'm rubbing off on
Yeah.
you.
Well, I was gonna say that one really weird like thing that I'm experiencing right now is like everybody has always my whole life everybody's told me they wanted my butt. Like I was just like born out of the womb with
Yeah.
a big butt and it just is what it is.
Bubble butt.
Literally. And it's so funny because when I was younger and I had no muscle or no muscle definition, it was like way worse because I had no hamstring leading into that big glute. And now the glute has gotten bigger, the hamstring, like, so the whole package is wild. So
We
I
love
say all that to say that like all these people are constantly commenting and like, you know, oh, like what workouts do I have to do? And it's just like, I didn't try to do this. Like it just
Yeah.
happened. But then also it's like that one situation where I am trying to like get dresses for my rehearsal dinner and stuff.
Yeah.
And I have the size of my hips and the size of my waist and all these things. And I'm on these websites and nothing will fit me. Like I can't even order
Yeah.
them because they don't even make that dress for my hip size with my chest size. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
and like, and I'm not like mad at myself, but it makes me look at my body differently when I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people are praising this attribute of mine that's causing me currently very annoyance. So, like you said, you just never know the whole
You
picture.
never know. And what I
Yeah.
always say, like, if clothes do not don't fit you right. Because, like, this is, I feel like, something a lot of women can struggle with. Even if you, like, trainer, confident, happy in your body, loving your bubble, it's still like everyone has moments. And what I always like to say is like, your body's not the problem. The clothes are the problem. It's annoying that, yeah, the clothes I feel like more places need to account for that. Like we're human women and like we have curves. And yeah, I'm like very flat chested, but I've got a big butt as well. So it's definitely an interesting dynamic with dresses for sure, 1,000,000%. So I feel that we should have more clothes that fit, you know, properly. But yeah, like those moments like behind the scenes, nobody can see that. I think we see the joyful moments, right? We see the things we're proud of shared. People don't obviously just blast to the world their issues and their hardships and their struggles. And I was thinking about that with clients too. Like we share client transformations, and something I'm trying to continuously get better at is sharing like, okay, here's a transformation, but like here's what they struggled with. And like with my transformation, you'll always see like how they went from, you know, having hip back pain, having like awful PCOS symptoms, like realizing that there's so much more to the story. Like I don't want it to just be about this body comp changes were like a bonus of like if that was something someone wanted and that did improve their quality of life, like that's great. Like the body comp changes don't have to be a bad thing, right? But there's so much more depth to that story, and there's so many struggles we all face and we just don't talk about them. And it's like it's okay to keep some things close to the chest for sure.
Right.
Like people don't need to be blasting everything out there, but just recognize like when you're seeing on social media and you're seeing the highlight reel of everything, that there's so much pain and suffering that goes on for everyone, to be honest, internally on this journey and in life. What I always like to say is like joy and pain can like exist simultaneously. Just because you're seeing the joyful side of something or the end result or this, that, you don't know. That could have taken someone like 3 years to get to that end result, and they could have been experiencing grief throughout part of that time. They could have relapsed into bad habits in part of that time, then come out, but you don't see that part of the journey. And so just like keep in mind that it's like everyone has their stuff, everyone has their moments of insecurity, everyone has the struggles they've overcome. And just because you even see someone on the other end having overcome things, remember they still experienced a lot of those hard things, or they have different things they deal with now. And so we're all just humans trying to do our best. And I feel like we need to remember that we're all humans and we're more relatable than we present to each other.
100%. And also that while yes, there are like nuances and like, I also feel like there's so much information on social media now with like hormones and gut and all of these things that everybody is now self-diagnosing that
Yes.
different, like you were saying, like brain fog, anxiety, like all these things, like that didn't start as a hormone issue.
Yeah.
There because of
Thank
like your stuff, right? But like we didn't start there. We started because we weren't doing the basics. We weren't eating enough. We weren't drinking water. We were over
Yes.
consuming alcohol. That doesn't mean that you have a hormone or a gut or a
Thank
cortisol
you.
or holy
Say it
moly.
louder for the people in the back.
Yeah.
100%. I made a
And
post about this not too long ago.
I'm gonna have to go look at it because like I actually had, a former client who's like constantly sending me things like, this is what's wrong with me. This is what's wrong with me. I'm like, okay, that might be, but we have yet to eat, the normal amount of food and not binge on Hershey Kisses. I was like, so until we get to a place where like we can get the basics down, we can't even address that. Like we're not there yet.
100%. I think, to be honest, people want to name their problems. They want to make sense of why they feel the way they do. And the basics is not a sexy enough answer.
It's
They're
not.
like, no, you know what I mean? So I think they want it to be almost something bigger because then there'd be an explanation. And a lot of women, especially, men could be potentially too, but like with women, we find often, right, they feel like they've quote unquote tried everything. They're freaking exhausted. They're tired of feeling like they're failing time after time to accomplish change. So when you're in that mindset, of course, you're going to want to diagnose, because then there might be a quote unquote more simple solution or a more direct solution. But yeah, look at the basics first. Like, people don't realize not doing the basics is what causes hormonal issues.
Right. It's like a problem, result thing.
But you don't need a supplement. You just need a first. But I've had clients like that before too, where they've been like, well, it might be my hormones. And I shut that down real fast. I'm like, love you, girl. It is, I don't think it's your hormones. Let's start with this. Validating your feelings of like, yeah, like if that becomes an issue or I see something where I think it could be your hormones, like I will let you know. But let's master this first. And they're like, oh, okay.
Exactly. Like, let me validate your feelings because you are going through these symptoms. That's happening.
Yeah.
However, we can't diagnose or we can't even address whether it's a hormone. And like, let's not go down the rabbit hole of testing because we don't know even where we're starting with the basics. Like, if we get the basics down and we're still not feeling better, then we can test and we have a better baseline than if you test before you even did the things that you need to do to get to a healthier place.
100%.
So, yeah. So I love that, like, you talked about, like, just simply that you were under fueling and overtraining, and that was what you had to heal before we got to the rest of the stuff, right? Like, so I think that's really
yeah, 100%. Like, that's what caused all the issues and all the hormonal balances and mood swing, like all sorts of different things. Whereas, yeah, like, once I started fueling enough, I was like, oh my God. And obviously it's been a journey. It didn't happen overnight. Like, it's really hard. I know people always talk about how hard it is to eat less, but it's really freaking hard to eat more and give yourself permission to eat more. I see it all the time with a lot of the clients I work with. Like, that's a huge struggle point because they're so attached to the numbers. I'm very thankful in my obsessive era. Shockingly, I never macro tracked. I did not. And actually, macro tracking ironically helped me heal my relationship with food. I had a very adverse experience. Like, a lot of people say it's the other way around. When I was, funny enough, in my obsessive era, I was like, oh, I'm not going to track. That would be crazy. And that's so funny. Like now I've like used it as a tool of healing, and it can be a tool of healing for many clients, not for all. Some clients visuals are a much better. Everyone needs something different, right? There's no one right way, but thank goodness I did not do that back then, because I would have attached even more to that. But
yeah, I mean, I do think that like macro tracking has a really bad rep because it hasn't been taught for the right reasons.
or the right way to do it.
Right.
People,
Like we used to track calories on MyFitnessPal to make sure that we weren't overeating. And then because MyFitnessPal, and I'll just like use it, I'm just gonna throw it right under the bus. It has that like feature where it's like, oh, if you work out, you can earn more calories. So then now again, I'm cognitively thinking like, oh well, if I go work out, I can eat that 300 calorie cookie, right? Like,
for sure.
and so you're training your brain in a certain way. But instead, if we just use it literally as a way for us to see the data, like, okay, yeah, I went over this week because I went to a bar with some friends and I had a few drinks and an appetizer that I typically wouldn't have. Who
Yeah.
cares? Like, you can fit that
Yeah.
in, it's fine. But it's like, okay, now we know that that scale jump is probably attributed to that. So once we get right back into routine, maybe it'll come back down and we'll be good. Or like, hey, we're eating around this calorie range averagely. If we want to lose a little bit of weight based on this, we might need to bump it down a little bit to account for some of these spikes that you're doing.
Yeah,
Like
for
there's
sure.
so many ways that it doesn't have to be restrictive
hmm
and healing, like you said.
Yeah, well, and like I think people do it in such a robotic way. Like they take auto-generated numbers and slap them in, and they're like, "These are my numbers," and it's like that does not account for your body, your genetics. Like that is literally like, yes, the calculations can, if you have the correct calculations, that can be a great starting point. But that is where I feel like working with a coach when it comes to macros, because they can be really tricky. Like you need to tune into your biofeedback. You need to, get to know your hunger levels. It's so much beyond just that, because your body's going to adapt to your lifestyle. So like your hunger levels, everything, they aren't going to be normalized, and none of it's going to be intuitive. Like you have to learn how to become intuitive, which does take multiple skill sets, right? Because like knowing what to eat is a different skill set than knowing how to eat, I guess is a good way to put it.
Right.
And it really is just so individualized, and preference matters. So like it's not just about strategy, it's also about preference. Like they do have to work hand in hand. And there's just like a lot of factors that like you download an app, it's not going to tell you any of that shit. It's a free app. Like
Yeah.
it's free for a reason, right? Like it's not actually giving you any education or understanding, which I think is also part of the problem. So like women just like obsess, they stick to a number, but it's like you don't even understand like what those numbers mean. You're just going off of auto calculations like MyFitnessPal. You're going to be like, okay, I want to lose weight. It's going to cut like 500 calories because you want to lose weight in 3 weeks. You want to lose 10 pounds in 3 weeks. And then it's going to cut like 500, 600 calories from your diet. You're going to be miserable. It's not going to work. And then you're going to feel like your body's broken. And it's just, yeah, it's sad. It's like great to have free resources, but also like without all the information, it's just so, it can be dangerous. It can be dangerous territory, but it can be, like we said, very healing, amazing thing when done the right way. Because there are certain things where like, if you do it the right way, you're going to save yourself a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration, a lot of like mental health, like crises, like crises.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
No, that's amazing. Okay, so I guess give us like 3 tangible things that you're like, this is what you like, homework assignments or whatever you want to call it. That you're like, this is what all of my clients do that are successful, or that I teach my clients to do, or that I did to, get to a better place. Like, what are 3 tangible things people can start working on today?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. So first one is going to be like, it should come no surprise after this conversation, get to the root of the issues you're having. If you keep trying to do things in a surface level way, you're going to struggle to make progress. Okay. You're going to struggle to make progress. You need to understand why barriers you're running into, why you keep running into them. Otherwise, like nothing's going to change. You have to understand yourself, like the way that your brain works, why you think the way you do. Like that's, again, not talked about enough, but without that, like that is just going to drive every action you take in your life. Then, so get to the root. Then not shame yourself or feel guilty or bad if you feel like you've tried a lot and it hasn't worked. this journey is not intuitive. It does have to be taught and learned, and your journey is going to be individualized. So my biggest thing for you too would be, instead of trying to copy paste replicate what other people are doing, I want you to like look internally to like what makes sense for you and your body, which is going to take some education and understanding. But when you gain that education and understanding, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and money down the road. So there's no better time to truly invest in yourself than now, right? In any sort of way you can invest. Like even if you can't hire a coach, like do your research, you know what I mean, with like reputable people, you know, that you can trust. That's huge. So I guess, what was it? Get to the root, kind of like focus on your journey, your body. And then third one, repeat, did you say tangible like homework for, what was it? Just to create
For
change?
people to work on to start feeling more like empowered and good.
Okay, yeah. And then like last one is gonna be like doing that inner work. Like it's not just about finding the root, but you have to challenge your current actions and thought patterns. If you do not challenge them, they will not change. And so you want to start small. So a lot of times we feel overwhelmed because we're trying to literally climb a mountain in a day, when that mountain is going to take probably longer, a lot longer than you want to climb. But if you go low and slow and you build step by step, you're going to get there. The importance is having your body happy, healthy throughout the journey and keeping your mental health in a happy place. It's not about getting as fast as you possibly can to the finish line. You will get to the freaking finish line. Don't stress about that. If you can learn to enjoy the process and focus on the small freaking habits, the small habits and the small moments, you cannot see the trickle and ripple effect they have that are going to create that massive change in your life. Like it is like a domino effect. And all the little things you do are actually going to be some of the biggest things on your journey. So the version of you right now that's fighting for who you want to be, don't hate on her, because she literally is creating the future you that is going to feel empowered, going to feel happy and healthy. We do have to work to get to a place of like accepting ourselves where we're at, even if we're not where we want to be. It's important to recognize like those things can coexist. You don't have to be completely happy in your body or where you want to be, but you still have to show yourself that kindness and acceptance. And then the journey is going to be a heck of a lot better. Because if we can't make the journey enjoyable, what's the point? Like literally, I talked about this on a podcast guest I had on this week. We were like, you could have the perfect plan, but if you freaking hate your life, it was a waste of time. So you need to like account for your preference in there too. And I know that was like 60 things, not like 3 things, but biggest things, get to the root, challenge the thoughts and actions, like do that inner work, like including your preference, learning how to enjoy the journey. Like that's all kind of connected. And then the other one in the middle there, what was it? I actually forget what I said.
Focus on your journey.
Yeah, focus on your unique journey, like because it's gonna be authentic to you, and don't try to copy paste. Like having that knowledge and understanding and doing your research. So those are kind of like the 3 things I would focus on. It sounds like a lot, but instead of taking that as like overwhelming, I want you to just like take a step back and just start as small as you possibly can. Remember that every small change drives change, right? Every small thing drives change. So even if the biggest thing you can do like this week is literally just get outside for a 5 to 10 minute walk, maybe twice a week, you're literally growing. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if you can add 10 more ounces of water to your day, you're growing. If you can get to the gym once a week, you're growing. Like you don't have to do this all or nothing. And you're going to feel so much more successful and encouraged if you start in a place where you feel competent and confident and confident. So if you start too high, you're not going to feel confident. You're not going to feel competent. If you start too low, you're not going to be challenged. You have to find that sweet spot in the middle that you can build. And that just all starts with tiny actions.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, so then one last question would be, I am a powerlifter in current hiatus, I guess. But
very cool.
I've been a powerlifter. So I always need to ask this question. Would you fuck, marry, or kill squat, bench, deadlift?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. Okay. This is easy. Okay. I would marry bench because I love bench. That's my favorite. I would fuck deadlift for sure because we love a deadlift, and I would kill squat.
You
100%.
are the first person that has the same answers as me.
How do, if anyone would marry or fuck squat, like, I'm sorry, what?
So many people like to
I
squat.
hate,
I'm like, why?
yeah, squats are a love hate. Love hinges, love bench, love any sort of pushing movements. Could marry all day. Yeah, that's a great question. That's a really fun one.
Yeah, I was just like, how do I have fun at the end of these podcasts?
I
Get
love that.
personality in the
I
gym.
do love that. Yeah,
Awesome.
that
Okay.
is so funny.
Well, it's been so amazing. This conversation is going to bring so much value to everybody. So I really, really appreciate you being open, vulnerable, and telling us all the things. But I want to recognize you. So let us know where we can find you on Instagram, all the socials, and then also your podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. This was so much fun, and I feel like we got so deep. We covered on so many different topics. So I do hope that everyone listening, you can take something from this today. But thank you so much for having me on, Kate. Yes, you can find me on Instagram at empowered_with_Ash. That's the only social media. And my podcast is just the Empowered with Ash podcast. So we keep it really simple. So yeah, the Empowered with Ash podcast. It's on Spotify and Apple. So those are the places you can reach me. I'm hoping to get on YouTube with my podcast soon, but Insta and Spotify and Apple are the places to find me for now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, review, whatever you want to do on here so we can get these stories out to more people and help the masses. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.